as we see over the course of the last 24 hours, single digits, double digits on USD pairings and BTC pairings for some of our strong cryptos, and of course the 2017 garbage or other cryptos to avoid. Very, very negative here, especially for Curve. All right, that's going to reset once we see the 24-hour market close. So let's get on with the data. Last night we saw PPI results come out, lower than had anticipated. So things are looking rosy, and people were wondering why this isn't spilling over into Bitcoin and cryptos. My simple answer, and it's not something that most want to hear, is it's because you just need to follow the charts for Bitcoin and crypto, as opposed to relying on economic data that comes out every single month to give us a reading on the market. Personally, been following this for many, many years, and it just doesn't make that much of a difference. And I know that is a polarizing opinion to some, but of course, use whatever data you think works for you. And I'm just sharing with you what I have found to work for myself. And hopefully you can find some clarity in not worrying about the FOMC meetings and watching live streams of people looking at it and trying to preempt what's going to happen in the market. What's going to happen is based on the macro cycle. On to the stock markets. Again, another all-time high daily close in history. I can't see these things coming down anytime soon in terms of a collapse. Corrections along the way are obviously welcomed to bring on a healthy move to the upside. And the last one we've seen was roughly around 3%. And prior to that, pretty much only got a daily reversal here of 1%. So again, daily highest close in history. After hours open again this morning is starting to push a little bit higher. There is a gap back here for the S&P 500 at 54.50 up to around 54.70. Maybe we see that filled, maybe we don't, but that's going to be on the radar there to see if there is some sort of fill. Other than that, you've got your support back at 5,300, and then the previous old all-time high all the way back here at 4,800. So the market has gone pretty far from the previous old all-time high. It's up now about 14%. I wouldn't be betting against a rising bull market. We need to see a lot more change before we start to get too bearish and try to call every single top. The NASDAQ, same thing again, new all-time high price, new all-time high daily close. And here is the after hours market trying to push a little higher again. It's attempting to break through a major 50% move here. So that's the extension on the NASDAQ. And typically when that happens and it breaks through it convincingly, we still need a couple of days. Let's see when the week closes here. So the end of week in 24 hours. That would essentially show that you're probably going to see more upside towards the next target, which is around the 100% level for this one here. So the 50% is at 19,400 and it's sliced through that. So I'd say we're on our way to 21,600 over the coming months here on the NASDAQ. That leads us to Bitcoin and the corrections that we've seen over the last 24 hours. There was the dump on Tuesday before we got that fake out the day after. And then, well, yesterday it's come back and corrected. So we're really still in this trading range for BTC. And that is not giving any sort of confidence to the cryptocurrency market. There's no lead here from Bitcoin. Therefore, cryptos continue to slump. And as I showed earlier in the intro, these were all red, and now it's just past 10 a.m. here, which is the close for the markets. Therefore, these numbers reset. And so you start to see a little bit of green. But essentially, the last 24 hours has been red. I think what needs to happen here is Bitcoin needs to show some sort of hand. It needs to lead the market again. And then you start to see that risk come back into cryptos. And we've got some specific levels that I want to get through on the total cryptocurrency market cap. But just to cover what's happening with Bitcoin at the moment, 67K. I mean, it's just been the same thing over and over again for everyone over the last 24 days. And the last call that I was talking about after March was being underneath the old all-time high for roughly 4 to 6 months. Now, I'm not trying to pump up my bubble here, but I haven't seen anyone else talk about the possibility of the market being underneath the old all-time high for that period back here. That was the first time I put it out, 17th of March. The reason being was that 3-day down signal. And so far, that has held true. And the emphasis that I want to bring to that is if we see that again at another significant high, or maybe the all-time high, try to take profits whenever you see that complacency bounce. Now that could be a fake out and go a little there. 4 to 6 months takes us out to about July. So we're basically coming into that time frame now. We're less than a month away from that time frame. So we're getting well within that now. We're into that 4th month or leading into that 4th month now. So that's the bit of wisdom I want to share with you guys today. And I'll continue to talk about that as the market rises. But it's just so much easier to talk about it now and discuss it now because the greed hasn't got to our minds. And the comment sections always get really out of hand when we get into those big bubble territories. No one wants to hear it, and it's just blasphemy to even talk about it. You need to be on the side of the market and the whole hype up at that stage. So I wouldn't be concerned unless Bitcoin broke 64 to 65, in which case then I'd be looking to around 60 to 61,000 for a retest of this low. For now, things are all good. Let's move on to this signal here that came up last week, looking at the run on the weekly chart. So we were looking at the possibility of 5 straight weeks up and what happens after those 5 weeks, and then how long do we have to wait until we were to see higher prices. And so after this signal, the 5 weeks or more in a swing, so consecutively in a swing, I've gone through and had a look at the time frames until the market really got going again. This one here, you could look at 7 weeks to the low, and I might just take it out to 9 weeks so you can see that as well until the breakout. And yeah, if we take a look, you've got 7 weeks to the upside, we got the correction, and then 7 weeks into the low. And as I just showed here, that was also 7 weeks into a low with a fake out. There you go, a false break. And then it put the low in, and then you had to move to the upside. And the reason why I'm calling that a false break is that I would much rather be on this run than that run. Everyone has their own opinions where they want to be, but I want to be on this run, which is why I'm measuring it to this low and not this little low here at 4 weeks, because that really wasn't enough time to give the market time to consolidate before you had another big move. There just wasn't enough time for the buyers to get in, absorb the supply to then push that demand on. So that's the time frames that I'm looking at there. There's your 9 weeks until the significant breakout. Just like in March when I shared with you that trade signal of the 3 days down, the overhyped greed, and how it was likely we wouldn't see higher prices for a considerable period of time, or if we did, it would probably be a false break. So I was still looking at the possibility of a false break. This time round, I think we've got another few weeks to go, maybe several weeks, until we start to see that punch out to the upside. And we are starting to see a few more bears come in thinking that this is over. So it's kind of good to see that, because many are probably getting a little bit worried that the cycle is over and they just want to dump their cryptos because their cryptos have been heading down. They're sort of lost around that 30, 50, sometimes even getting close to 70% in some cases if you got on board the smaller caps. So next up is the total cryptocurrency market cap. And we want to get an understanding, or more so a feeling, of when those good vibes return, those feel it in the jelly moments where basically the normies are here and the masses are back on board, pumping up prices for a shorter period of time. So I want to give you those time frames and those particular signal areas to hopefully find out when this whole feeling is over. So it's over at this particular signal, and it's happened in the past. I think it should happen pretty similarly again, especially when we get that feeling of the jellies, and this current feeling is over. This feeling of deep, dark, depressing times of cryptos only going lower, and that it's not going to return. Like, subscribe. See you guys back at the next one. Take care and peace out.